Welcome to HFY Sci-Fi Love and War Story. Here, we will explore the unknown, uncover hidden truths, and follow characters as they grow, evolve, and fight their way through vast galaxies. In today's story, we meet Aara, the discarded princess of the Draan Empire, a warrior race built on strength and domination. When her father, King Voltaire, deems her unworthy of the throne, she is cast aside as a weak and unfit heir. But on a new planet, under the guidance of Daniel, a human ambassador, Aara will discover a strength beyond the boundaries of battle, a strength forged through adaptation, resilience, and the power of change. This is her journey to prove that true strength doesn't come from brute force, but from the ability to learn, adapt, and push past her limits. Now, let's begin the story of Aara's transformation. The chamber looms, an expansive hall of otherworldly grandeur, its walls glistening with an iridescent sheen, as if the entire structure were forged from liquid crystal. The ceiling, high and vaulted, stretches into the shadows, lost in the abyss of an unseen void. Deep, glowing symbols etched in languages ancient and incomprehensible to most float, hovering against the dark expanse, casting faint, eerie glimmers over the assembly below. The air hums with a faint, harmonic vibration, as though the very room itself is alive, breathing with the pulse of the galaxy. A low murmur of voices fills the space, an undercurrent of anticipation, as representatives from various alien species fill the room. Their faces, diverse and strange, watch from ornate thrones set at different levels around the massive, circular council chamber. Each species is as distinct as their origins, some tall and lithe, with translucent skin that shimmers with hidden colors, others squat and reptilian, with eyes that flicker like the gleam of distant stars. In the center of the room stands King Voltaire, the towering, muscular ruler of the Draan Empire. His presence is commanding, his golden armor catching the faint light from the room's celestial symbols, reflecting a cold, merciless gleam. His features are chiseled, sharp like the edge of a blade. His eyes, dark as the void of space, burn with the weight of ancient power and deep dissatisfaction. Around him, the representatives fall silent as he speaks, his voice echoing off the walls, resonating with an unnatural depth, like the voice of a force beyond comprehension. King Voltaire's voice slices through the chamber. "I have a problem," he announces, his tone grim, betraying a flicker of vulnerability. The words hang in the air, drawing the attention of every eye in the chamber. "My daughter, Aara, is weak. She does not possess the strength of a true Draan warrior. She is unworthy to inherit my empire." He pauses, a cruel smirk curling at the edge of his lips. "I disown her." The room stirs, a ripple of murmurs echoing through the assembled species. Voltaire's words are not unexpected, yet there's an unsettling finality to them that causes a few of the representatives to exchange knowing glances. This is no ordinary case of familial betrayal. This is the disavowal of a potential ruler, a princess of the mighty Draan Empire. A reptilian figure from the Zorik species, tall and wiry with scales that shimmer in a myriad of dark, metallic hues, leans forward with a calculated smirk. His eyes gleam with a mixture of amusement and malice. "What will you do with her, Voltaire? Surely you do not mean to simply cast your own flesh and blood into the void of space like a discarded relic?" Voltaire, his eyes narrow, cold, and calculating. "I will give her away. To anyone willing to take her." The council erupts in laughter, sharp, cruel laughter, bouncing off the walls like the cackle of unseen forces. The thought of the mighty Draan Empire's princess being given away like some unwanted trinket amuses them all. Even the council members who might have once shown deference to Voltaire now find themselves unable to stifle their mockery. As the laughter continues, Daniel Hayes, the human representative, sits in the far corner, quietly observing. His features are unremarkable in the sea of alien complexity, his human form a stark contrast to the otherworldly beings around him. His eyes are calm, reflecting nothing but a quiet understanding of the political game at play. The council's amusement seems to lose its edge when one of the representatives, an alien with 4 eyes, turns to him with a sharp grin. "Why not give her to the humans, Daniel?" The voice is mocking, tinged with a sneer. "You humans are so eager to care for the lost causes, are you not?" The room falls silent for a moment, a wave of surprise sweeping through the chamber. Daniel remains still, his posture relaxed, despite the gaze of every council member now fixed upon him. The laughter intensifies, ringing through the chamber like a sinister symphony. Daniel's response. Without hesitation, Daniel rises slowly from his seat. The mockery and derision aimed at him roll off like water on a duck's back. He stands tall, meeting the eyes of the council without a hint of fear or hesitation. "I accept," he states, his voice unwavering. The room explodes in laughter again, but this time it's different. There is shock beneath the surface of the mockery, disbelief that a mere human would dare to accept such an insult, let alone the responsibility. The murmurs ripple through the chamber like the shifting of tectonic plates. Voltaire's gaze hardens as he turns to face Daniel. His lips curl into a faint, amused smile, though there's a coldness behind it. "Fine, human. She is yours. Do with her what you will." The human transport ship is far less impressive than the grand warships of the Draan Empire. The small vessel hums quietly through the vast emptiness of space, a pinprick of light amidst the eternal dark. The ship's interior is simple, functional but unremarkable. There are no elaborate decorations, no gold-plated walls, just stark metallic surfaces and flickering, dimly lit control panels. The hum of the ship's engines creates a constant, low vibration that feels like a pulse beneath Aara's feet. Her eyes are fixed on the small, round window, staring out into the endless void of space. Aara sits stiffly, her body taut with indignation. The room is dim, lit only by the soft glow of control panels and the stars outside. She wraps her arms tightly across her chest, her eyes narrowed with disdain as she glares at Daniel, who sits across from her. Despite the turmoil in her chest, she remains silent, stewing in her own anger. "This is your fault," she thinks, her mind running with dark thoughts, but she says nothing. She clenches her fists. Aara speaks, her voice dripping with venom, her words cutting through the still air. "You humans. You are weak," she mutters under her breath, though loud enough for Daniel to hear. "You've barely earned your place in the galaxy, and yet here you are, dragging me into your pathetic world." Daniel, calm and composed, does not respond to the outburst. He simply observes her with quiet understanding. His gaze doesn't waver from the horizon outside the ship, but there's something in his expression, something patient, something that betrays the depth of his experience with situations like this. Aara's fury boils over, but she soon realizes that Daniel does not respond in kind. His silence is unnerving. The human across from her is a mystery, a riddle she cannot yet solve. He does not pity her. He does not mock her. Instead, he simply waits, and Aara begins to understand something deeper. He is not reacting because he doesn't see her as weak, as everyone else does. But she doesn't care, not yet. She still holds on to the belief that she is the rightful heir, and this human, this pitiful creature, has no right to be a part of her fate. As the transport ship descends through the layers of Earth's atmosphere, a shimmering veil of clouds slowly parts to reveal the sprawling Earth space station. Suspended like a jewel in the vastness of space, the station is an architectural marvel. Its design is sleek, with polished metal surfaces reflecting the distant light of the sun. Hundreds of docking ports extend outward from the central hub, creating a spiderweb-like pattern, each one filled with ships of various shapes and sizes, all bustling with activity. The station itself hums with the subtle vibrations of advanced technology, its energy systems glowing with soft blue pulses. Outside, the station's hull is studded with intricate patterns, lights blinking in rhythmic intervals, signaling the passage of time and the synchronized dance of the ships coming and going. Aara's gaze is drawn to the massive windows of the station, where she can see a view of Earth itself, a pale blue dot, swirling with clouds, oceans, and land masses beneath the endless expanse of stars. It's nothing like the cold, lifeless expanses of space she's used to. This planet is teeming with life, with possibilities, with energy. The small human transport ship docks with the station, its connection to the larger structure accompanied by the soft thrum of docking mechanisms. As the airlock opens, Aara steps out onto the station, immediately taken aback by the sheer orderliness and efficiency of the station. Humans, though often laughed at for their primitive reputation in the galactic community, move with purpose and precision. Their spacesuits are functional yet surprisingly advanced, and their communication seems seamless, with each crew member engaged in their own tasks without wasting a single motion. Dialogue. Daniel stands beside her, noticing the disbelief in Aara's eyes. His voice is calm, almost amused, as he speaks. Earth may seem insignificant, but it's far more organized and capable than most of the galaxy gives us credit for. It's taken us time, but we've learned how to survive and thrive in ways others wouldn't believe. Aara's lips press together, her thoughts clouded with disdain. "You call this thriving?" she mutters, her tone laced with disbelief. "This simple station, this pitiful place." She takes in the bustling humans around her, their everyday lives unfolding with such ease and coordination. Despite the mockery she still feels in her heart, a flicker of curiosity ignites within her. Earth's complexity, though unassuming, is starting to spark an unfamiliar sense of intrigue within her. As Daniel leads her through the station, Aara remains skeptical. Every new sight and sound is an affront to her pride. The level of organization, human ingenuity, no less feels like a mocking reminder of what she's left behind. Aara, who has been raised in a society built on sheer strength, war, and power, now faces a world where survival is achieved not through combat but through adaptation, cooperation, and progress. She feels increasingly alien in this space, this place of calm and balance. Her previous life on Draan, filled with constant warfare and tension, seems a world away, and the thought of leaving it all behind weighs heavily on her. But despite the doubts gnawing at her, Aara cannot help but wonder, how do humans manage to exist in such apparent harmony? As they leave the busy space station, the journey takes them to Earth's surface. Daniel's home is nestled quietly near the coastline, a modest house perched on a slight hill overlooking the vast ocean that stretches out to infinity. The house is simple, constructed from weathered stone and wood, and surrounded by the hum of natural sounds, the rustling of the wind through the trees, the distant crash of waves against the shore. The air smells faintly of salt water, fresh and clean, and the soft cries of seabirds echo above them. The house is nothing like the grand palaces of Draan. There are no towering marble columns, no tapestries that whisper of the bloodline of rulers, no gilded halls echoing with the steps of warriors. Instead, it is humble, a home, filled with light and warmth, open windows letting the sunlight spill in. The living area is cluttered in the way that suggests comfort, with mismatched furniture and the earthy smell of lived-in spaces. It is unpretentious, almost mundane, but the peace it exudes is a stark contrast to Aara's former world. Aara steps onto the soft grass that surrounds the house, her feet sinking slightly into the earth, feeling the living pulse of the ground beneath her. The constant hum of energy from the galactic ships, the oppressive weight of royal duty, and the harsh militaristic atmosphere of Draan all seem to fade as she looks out at the open horizon, at the endless expanse of water. For the first time in a long while, she feels disoriented, unsure of her place. As she steps further into the home, she takes in the small, carefully maintained details: plants in simple clay pots, artwork on the walls, and even the scent of food cooking. There is a distinct human touch to everything here, a personal connection to the environment that Aara has never experienced. The Draan have no time for such things. They are a people of strength, of battle, and of ruling. Yet, here, it feels as though peace resides in every corner, waiting to be discovered. Daniel, sensing her unease, turns to her with a quiet smile. "You'll stay here for now," he says. "There are no palaces or thrones here. But you'll learn how to survive in your own way, in a world built not by war, but by adaptation. And you'll be safe here." Aara's gaze hardens slightly as she absorbs his words. She turns her back to the view and crosses her arms. "Safe," she repeats, almost laughing bitterly. "I was discarded, tossed aside by my father as though I were nothing. And now, I am supposed to find peace in this simple life." Her voice grows tense with suppressed anger. How could he expect her to just adapt to this? How could he believe that she could find peace in this human existence after the glory of her former life? She feels out of place, vulnerable in a way she never has before. The feeling churns inside her. Daniel watches her carefully, his face softening with understanding, but there is no pity in his eyes, only a quiet, steady resolve. "You're not the first one to feel lost," he says. "But you'll learn here. You'll learn to find yourself in the ways that matter, not by your father's definition, but by your own." But Aara can't hear him. She's too lost in her anger, too consumed by the rejection, the feeling of being cast aside like some worthless object. This home, this life, it feels like a mockery of everything she once knew. The sea beyond the house remains constant, its waves crashing rhythmically against the shore, unyielding, relentless, and unconcerned with the turmoil that churns within Aara. She knows she must confront it, but for now, the quiet beauty of the world seems to mock her, reminding her that she no longer belongs anywhere. The backyard of Daniel's house stretches out beneath an open sky, the air thick with the scent of salt water from the nearby ocean. The soft breeze whispers through the trees, swaying their leaves in rhythm, creating an almost hypnotic rustle that fills the space with a tranquil energy. The earth beneath Aara's feet is cool, yet firm, soft, with a cushion of grass that grows wildly in places, creating a natural texture that contrasts sharply with the sterile, battle-hardened environments of Draan. The sounds of the ocean crashing in the distance blend with the gentle hum of the air, creating a peaceful yet unsettling atmosphere. Peaceful because of the stillness, unsettling because of Aara's internal turmoil. Daniel stands a few steps away, his stance relaxed but purposeful. He watches as Aara fidgets, shifting her weight from foot to foot, clearly uncomfortable in the calm surroundings. The air, the light, the earth all are foreign to her hardened senses. Daniel gestures toward the grass, the simple space surrounding them, and begins the first phase of her training. Today, Daniel begins, his voice clear and steady, we'll focus on control and balance. These are the building blocks of true strength. Aara glances at him skeptically, her arms crossed tightly over her chest. Control. Balance, she scoffs. I don't need these things. What I need is strength. Her words are sharp, like a warrior's blade. She believes that pure force is the key to everything, a belief she's carried from her upbringing. Dialogue. Daniel doesn't flinch at her words. His gaze remains steady as he explains, strength is not just about brute force, Aara. It's about adaptability. It's about using the right strength at the right time. He demonstrates, shifting his weight from one foot to the other with the grace of someone who has spent years learning to move in sync with the world around him. It's not just about striking, it's about flowing. Aara watches, her muscles tense with impatience. You think I need to learn how to flow like some soft human? She sneers, looking down at the grass beneath her. The Draan know true power. We don't waste time on such trivialities. Daniel smiles lightly, almost knowingly, his eyes flicking to the distant horizon, as if searching for something only he can see. Strength without control is like a weapon without a hand to wield it. Eventually, it will turn against you. Aara steps forward, eager to prove him wrong. She quickly drops into a fighting stance, her fists tight and ready. She lunges forward, attempting to show Daniel her unmatched physical prowess. Her movements are wild, too fast, too aggressive, as if her whole body is screaming for battle. She takes several steps, throwing punches that move with the sheer force of a warrior trained for war, but nothing else. Daniel watches her for a moment, his expression unwavering. Not like that, he says calmly. Aara's face flushes with anger. She doesn't want to be told what to do by a human, but there's a part of her that knows Daniel is right. She pulls back and sets herself again, this time trying to follow his instructions, but frustration begins to cloud her judgment. Her movements are stiff, mechanical, disconnected from the natural rhythm that Daniel is trying to teach her. Focus, Daniel urges, his voice steady. Balance, Aara. Without balance, strength becomes recklessness. Aara growls under her breath, irritated by the change in pace. But with each correction Daniel makes, she begins to understand, though begrudgingly. Her movements, though still rigid, are slightly less frantic now, more controlled. She takes a deep breath, silently cursing the limits of her pride and accepting that this new kind of strength is something she's never learned. The beach is a world away from the rigidity of Draan combat training grounds. The sand beneath Aara's boots is soft, shifting with every step she takes, like the uncertain nature of the life she's just begun. The ocean stretches out before them, an endless expanse of glistening blue and green that meets the horizon in a hazy line. The water's surface is deceptively calm, but beneath it, there's a subtle power, a constant, rhythmic pulse that calls to the earthbound Aara in ways she doesn't understand. The air smells of salt and freedom, and the sound of the waves crashing against the shore brings an eerie sense of tranquility, too peaceful, too still for someone like her who has been raised in a world of war and noise. Daniel's voice breaks through the stillness. Today's challenge is simple, he says, turning to face Aara. Swim across the bay. Test your endurance and your ability to adapt. Aara's brow furrows, and she turns toward the water. Swimming? What does this have to do with strength? She scoffs. I don't need to waste my time with this. She looks down at the water, her fists clenching in frustration. It is nothing like the training simulations she is used to. No weapons, no combatants. Water, a mere element, feels like a trivial exercise to her. It's not something she can fight with raw power. Daniel stands silently beside her, waiting. His presence is calm, the opposite of Aara's growing impatience. She stares at him, then at the water again. Her eyes narrow as she steps toward the shoreline, though the challenge still seems foolish to her. Fine, she mutters, her voice tight with resistance. But I warn you, human, this is beneath me. Maybe, Daniel responds. But it's also essential. He looks out at the water, his gaze distant. The ocean doesn't care how strong you are. It only cares if you can adapt to its power. Aara hesitates at the water's edge, then steps forward, her feet sinking into the cold, wet sand. She hesitates for a moment before plunging into the water, her arms moving mechanically at first. Her instincts scream at her to fight the water, to overpower it with strength, but as she pushes deeper, the cold rushes over her, pulling her down. The water does not yield to her. It drags her under with a force she was unprepared for. Her body thrashes, her mind overwhelmed by the sensation of drowning, the salt water biting at her skin. She kicks hard, but the water does not bend. It only seems to pull harder at her limbs, as if it is resisting her power. After several attempts, Aara is visibly exhausted. Her body fights against the current, but the ocean is too vast, too strong for her to control. She's used to fighting with raw power, to dominating her opponent, but here, she cannot force the water to bend to her will. Suddenly, her legs give out, and the water rises over her head. Panic grips her heart as she sputters, gasping for air. Her arms flail, but the water pulls her deeper. Just as she is about to lose control, a hand grabs her, pulling her back to the surface. Daniel's firm grip steadies her, lifting her from the depths of the water. His face remains impassive, but there's a subtle concern in his eyes that Aara cannot ignore. "You were fighting it," Daniel says, his voice calm despite the tension. "The ocean doesn't care about your strength. It's about technique. Flowing with the water, not against it." Aara coughs, still shaken by the experience. Her gaze flicks from Daniel to the distant shore. Her pride burns, but she's beginning to understand something deeper. Raw strength won't help her here. Her battle has only just begun, not against her opponents, but against herself. The water is a deep azure blue, reflecting the endless sky above as Aara stands on the floating platform in the middle of the bay. The platform itself is anchored securely to the ocean floor, its surface smooth and slick from the salty touch of the water. Around her, the bay stretches out, an untouched expanse where the waves lap gently against the edges of the platform, their rhythm constant, hypnotic. The sunlight shimmers off the water's surface, casting golden rays that dance like fireflies in the fading light. A gentle breeze tugs at the loose strands of Aara's hair, carrying with it the scent of the ocean and the earthy aroma of distant forests. There is a peace here, yet Aara's inner world is anything but peaceful. Daniel stands at the edge of the platform, his gaze steady and focused. Aara's chest rises and falls in heavy breaths as she stares at the water, still feeling the remnants of panic from her last attempt. The sting of failure burns at her pride, but Daniel's voice cuts through the tension like a calm whisper on a stormy night. "Relax," he says, his voice soft but firm. "The water will resist you if you fight it. Flow with it. Move with it, not against it." Aara clenches her fists, her nails digging into her palms, but she says nothing. The water before her is still, yet it holds an undeniable power, a deep, mysterious force that cannot be controlled by brute strength alone. She takes a deep breath, her gaze flickering from the water to Daniel, who stands in silence, watching her with patient eyes. "Technique is what you need," Daniel continues, his voice like a guiding hand. "Strength alone won't get you through this. You need control over your movements, control over your instincts." Aara's eyes narrow as she steps cautiously into the water, her muscles tensed. The water embraces her, cool and soft, but her movements are rigid, still fighting it. She begins to paddle, but her arms are stiff, and her strokes lack rhythm. The tension in her body is like a drawn bowstring, ready to snap. Daniel watches her carefully, then speaks again. "Don't fight the water. Let it guide you." The water shifts beneath her, as if sensing her hesitation. She tries again, this time focusing on relaxing her movements, attempting to feel the rhythm of the waves, the pull of the tide. Slowly, she begins to understand. The water isn't something to fight, it's something to work with. Her strokes grow less erratic, more fluid. Her breathing slows, matching the rhythm of the ocean's pulse. For the first time, Aara feels the weight of her frustration lift, replaced by something foreign, a sense of balance, of unity between her body and the water around her. It's a hard lesson learned, one that tests her deeply. She's no longer thinking about how hard she can push, she's learning to adapt to what the water demands. Her movements become smoother, more controlled. The raw power that she once relied on gives way to subtlety, and for the first time, she stays afloat without struggling against the water's force. Aara takes a deep, steadying breath. She's no longer fighting, she's simply moving. Her frustration fades into a quiet sense of accomplishment, tempered with the realization that survival isn't about strength alone, it's about adapting to the environment around you. The beach stretches out before them, an endless line of sand that seems to dissolve into the horizon. The sky overhead is tinged with the warm colors of dusk, and the ocean beside them crashes gently against the shore, sending small splashes into the air. Aara stands at the starting point, her feet sinking slightly into the soft sand, feeling its texture beneath her skin. The world is still, save for the rhythmic sound of the waves and the quiet hum of her own breath. The challenge ahead seems simple, a race to a distant rock formation far down the beach. The rocks are jagged and dark, rising out of the sand like ancient sentinels, their surface covered with the moss of time. Daniel stands beside her, eyes fixed on the distant rocks. "We're going to test your stamina, Aara," he says, his voice steady. "Not your speed, but your ability to endure." Aara glances at him with a mixture of defiance and determination. Her competitive spirit flares at the challenge. "I don't need endurance," she snaps, her voice sharp. "I'll outrun you in an instant." Without waiting for Daniel's response, she takes off. Her legs push her forward with ferocious power, the sand flying beneath her feet as she surges ahead. Her stride is long, her speed unmatched, her body is a blur of motion, unstoppable, a force of nature. She feels the wind against her face, the thrill of the race pushing her forward. Daniel is already lagging behind, or so she thinks. She glances back, a smug smile spreading across her face. But then something changes. Daniel's voice calls out from behind, calm and measured, "Remember, it's not about how fast you go in the beginning, Aara. It's about how long you can maintain it." Aara's breath becomes uneven, the effort of her sprint taking its toll. She pushes herself harder, but her muscles begin to burn. Her legs start to feel heavy, like the sand beneath her feet is dragging her down. Her pulse quickens, and the initial burst of energy she had is now slipping away. The adrenaline that propelled her forward starts to wear off, and Aara begins to slow, her steps faltering. The air feels thicker, harder to breathe. The distance to the rocks seems to stretch farther than it should. Daniel, though not fast, moves with a steady, rhythmic pace, his breathing controlled, his form graceful. He passes her effortlessly, his strides unhurried but sure. Aara watches, shocked, as Daniel closes the gap between them. No, she thinks, frustration clawing at her, unwilling to admit defeat. She pushes herself again, but her body refuses to respond the way it did at the start. Her breath comes in gasps now, her legs aching, and the burn in her muscles intensifies. She feels the pull of exhaustion creeping in. By the time she reaches the rock formation, her pace is nothing more than a stagger. Daniel is already there, standing relaxed, his chest barely rising and falling as he looks at her. The difference is stark. "Well," Daniel says with a grin, "you did great in the first half. But remember, endurance is about maintaining the right pace, about knowing when to conserve energy and when to push." Aara, barely able to catch her breath, glares at him, frustration etched across her face. "I could have won if I'd just pushed harder," she mutters, though her voice is strained. "Not true," Daniel replies. "Speed alone won't get you anywhere. In a race of endurance, pacing is what wins. It's about strategy, Aara. Not impulse." She looks away, her pride wounded, but there's a lesson beginning to form in her mind. She's always relied on pure instinct, but instinct alone isn't enough. The lesson isn't just about running, it's about knowing how to run, how to manage your strength over time. As the sun sets over the ocean, the sky transforms into a palette of deep oranges, pinks, and purples. The light, soft and fading, creates an ethereal glow that dances on the water's surface, which now looks like a vast, shimmering mirror. The ocean, once intense and alive with power, now seems serene and reflective, its waves moving gently, almost lazily. The cool breeze carries the scent of salt and earth, weaving its way through Aara's hair, offering a quiet respite from the earlier intensity of her training. The vast expanse of the horizon is unbroken, giving her the sense of standing on the edge of an endless world. Aara sits near the water's edge, her legs tucked beneath her, gazing out at the sunset. Her thoughts are turbulent, swirling in her mind like the shifting tides. Her body is sore, the strain of the past day's lessons weighing on her, yet something more profound stirs within her. The failure she has experienced in her training, the exhaustion from each challenge, these are now taking on a new meaning. The realization is dawning on her that she is not the same person who arrived on this unfamiliar planet. She clenches her fists, the memory of her earlier struggles, her inability to keep up with Daniel in the race, her difficulty mastering the water flashing before her eyes. Pride fights against the truth, but she feels it creeping in. There's a lesson buried deep within the failure. Aara has always believed that strength comes from sheer force, from overpowering everything in her path, but that belief is slowly crumbling. Daniel appears beside her, his voice a quiet presence in the vast silence of the moment. It's not about winning every time, Aara. It's about learning to push past your limits without breaking yourself. Aara looks up at him, her eyes searching his face for any hint of mockery. Instead, she finds only understanding, a steady calmness that contrasts with the storm inside her. I've always thought that strength was about conquering, she admits, her voice low, almost hesitant. But every time I fail, it feels like I'm losing. Daniel sits beside her, his gaze following the setting sun. You're not losing, Aara. You're learning. Failure isn't the end. It's the beginning of understanding your limits. Once you accept them, you can find a way to push beyond them without destroying yourself in the process. Aara's eyes flicker with the spark of realization. She's been so focused on fighting for her pride, for the need to prove herself in the eyes of others, especially her father. But now, as the sun sets and the cool evening air brushes against her skin, she understands. It was never about defeating everything in her path, it was about mastering herself. A quiet determination begins to settle over her. She looks at Daniel, and for the first time, she speaks with a new understanding. I think I've been fighting for the wrong reasons. Daniel smiles softly, his eyes reflecting the changing colors of the sky. You're not the same person who arrived here. You've come further than you realize. The next morning, the world is bathed in the soft light of early dawn. The training field behind Daniel's house is a stark contrast to the serenity of the beach from the night before. It's a space that feels alive, the grass beneath Aara's feet rich and green, the ground soft yet firm. The distant sound of the ocean can still be heard, but here, in this field, the air feels charged with purpose, anticipation thick in the air. Daniel stands at the far end of the field, his stance relaxed but expectant. Around him, the space is clear, nothing but open terrain and a few scattered objects that seem to serve no particular purpose. There are no weapons, no battle simulators, just Aara and the open expanse. Today's lesson, Daniel begins, his voice steady as he watches Aara, is all about trusting your instincts. You've relied on logic and strength up until now. But there's another part of you, an intuition that can guide you. Aara eyes him skeptically, feeling a flutter of doubt in her chest. I don't need to trust anything but my strength, she mutters. But there's something in her voice, something that betrays her uncertainty. She's still hesitant, still tied to the mindset that has defined her for so long. Daniel's gaze sharpens, and he steps forward. Your instincts will guide you through situations you cannot predict, things that your mind can't process fast enough. But you have to listen. Don't let the mind cloud the body's natural rhythm. Aara looks at the objects around her. There are small metal bars, some weights, a series of balancing platforms, and a set of smaller obstacles scattered across the field. She takes a step forward, glancing back at Daniel. What do you want me to do? Just react to whatever happens. Daniel nods. Exactly. Trust what you feel, not just what you see. React instinctively, without thinking too much. Aara takes a deep breath, her muscles tensing. She has trained her entire life to be in control, to anticipate and dominate. To let go, to trust her body's reaction without overthinking, is a foreign concept to her. But she steps forward, attempting to keep her mind clear, to feel the environment around her. The first obstacle is a low balance beam, narrow and slick. Aara approaches it with hesitation, her feet unsure. As she steps onto it, her instincts kick in, and she almost immediately loses her balance, stumbling. Her mind races to correct the mistake, but her body fails to respond in time, and she crashes to the ground with a grunt. Daniel watches her silently, his expression unreadable. You relied on your thoughts, he observes. You overcomplicated it. Feel your body. Don't think about the next step, just do it. Aara rises to her feet, her frustration bubbling up. How do you expect me to trust something I've never been taught? Her voice is tight with irritation. I've been trained to think, to control, not to react. Daniel steps forward, his eyes meeting hers with a quiet, understanding gaze. You've been taught to fight, to dominate. But life isn't about domination. It's about flowing with what's given to you. Trusting your body when your mind is too slow. Aara steadies herself, this time focusing on the sensations in her body. The subtle shifting of weight, the slight pull of muscles, the pressure against the ground. She steps onto the balance beam again. Her movements are slower, more deliberate, but this time, they feel natural. She focuses on her breath, on the space between each step, and she makes it across without faltering. The next challenge is a set of small obstacles, barriers she must jump over, climb under, and crawl through. With each one, her mind begins to relax, her body responding quicker than before. Each obstacle seems to fall away beneath her, as though the earth itself is guiding her steps. The final test comes in the form of a sprint to the end of the field. As Aara takes off, she instinctively leans into the run, her body moving with a fluidity she's never experienced before. The power of her legs, the control in her arms, the rhythm of her heart, all of it seems to sync perfectly. By the time she reaches the finish line, she's out of breath, but there's a new understanding in her chest. She's learned to trust her body, to feel her instincts rather than overthink every action. Daniel watches her approach, his face breaking into a rare smile. That was better. Much better. Aara stands panting, looking at him with a mixture of exhaustion and realization. I felt it, she admits quietly. For the first time, I really felt it. Daniel nods. That's the beginning. Trusting your instincts is like learning to ride the wave. It's about letting go, not forcing everything into place. The beach, bathed in the golden light of the setting sun, feels almost surreal. The sky is a rich tapestry of oranges, purples, and fading reds, as if the world itself is being slowly wrapped in the quiet, soothing embrace of dusk. The ocean reflects the colors of the sky, each wave that crashes against the shore glowing faintly with the last vestiges of daylight. The air carries a cool, refreshing breath, laced with the salty tang of the sea, and the sound of waves is rhythmic, steady, as though marking the passage of time itself. The sand beneath Aara's feet is warm, soft, and shifting with the constant motion of the tide. The space feels expansive, endless. And yet, for Aara, it's a small, personal world, one where her past and her future are slowly converging. This time, the challenge ahead feels different. This isn't just another lesson. This is the culmination of everything Aara has learned since arriving here, her first true test of endurance, adaptability, and strength. Daniel stands across from her, watching silently as she prepares herself. There's no instruction, no words. Just the quiet understanding between them. He's waiting for her to prove what she's learned, not just to him, but to herself. The challenge starts with swimming. The water, though calm, feels different now. The waves are no longer an enemy, but a companion. Aara steps into the water, feeling the familiar pull of the ocean beneath her, and this time, she doesn't fight it. She moves with the current, her body in sync with the rhythm of the water. Her strokes are smoother, more fluid, less frantic than before. For the first time, she feels herself truly flowing with the water, not against it. She swims to a distant buoy, marking the halfway point, her body moving almost effortlessly. The burn in her muscles is still there, but it doesn't feel like the debilitating fatigue of the past. This time, her strength is focused, channeled with purpose. She reaches the buoy and turns back with renewed energy, her strokes cutting through the water with precision. As she emerges from the water, her breathing steady, Aara glances over at Daniel. There's a hint of a smile on her lips, a spark of confidence in her eyes that wasn't there before. I didn't think I could ever feel at home in the water, she says, almost to herself. Daniel nods, his expression calm, yet there's a flicker of pride. It's not about feeling at home, Aara. It's about being able to adapt anywhere. To any situation. Next comes the run. Aara stretches her legs and takes off, but this time, she doesn't rush headlong into the sprint like before. Her pace is controlled, measured. She feels her feet sinking slightly into the sand with each stride, but it no longer feels like an obstacle. Instead, the resistance of the sand is something she embraces. Each step is an opportunity to push forward, to build her endurance. She runs past the landmarks of her previous training, the rock formations, the trees, the distant horizon, but this time, she doesn't feel the fatigue threatening to overtake her. Her body is no longer rebelling against her, it's working with her. The pain that used to overwhelm her is now just another part of the process. Daniel runs beside her, his breathing calm, his form relaxed. But Aara knows this isn't about beating him. It's about conquering herself. She pushes harder, her legs burning, but she's able to keep going. The finish line, marked by another distant rock formation, is within her reach. I'm not giving up, she thinks to herself, gritting her teeth as she pushes forward. Daniel glances at her, sensing the shift in her determination. That's the spirit, he mutters, though there's no trace of mockery in his voice, only quiet support. Aara's stride quickens as she nears the finish, and she crosses it with a proud gasp, her chest heaving with exertion. The sun has almost completely set, leaving behind a trace of orange light in the fading sky. The air is now cool, but the fire within Aara burns brightly. But there's one last test, a series of endurance tasks, each more grueling than the last. They start simple: a short sprint, a series of jumps, then a crawl through the sand. The challenges stretch her body to its limits, but with every obstacle, she adapts. The overwhelming weight of self-doubt begins to lift. She's no longer fighting against the tasks. She's working with them, finding her way through each one. The pain becomes a reminder of her progress, not a hindrance. By the time she finishes the final task, she's exhausted, covered in sweat, her muscles sore, but her spirit is undefeated. She stands, breathing heavily, but with a quiet, determined pride. Night has settled over the beach, and the stars above seem to shimmer brighter than ever. The moon, full and luminous, casts a silver glow over the ocean, its reflection rippling gently on the water's surface. The sound of the waves crashing against the shore is louder now, a steady, soothing rhythm that seems to speak of the passage of time of change. Aara sits beside Daniel, the two of them watching the ocean in a quiet, companionable silence. The cool night air wraps around them like a soft blanket, and the faintest scent of salt water and earth lingers in the air. The world feels vast, the stars overhead a reminder of the infinite universe, of endless possibilities. Aara, her body still tingling with the after-effects of the day's training, looks out at the horizon. The endless stretch of ocean mirrors her journey, vast, unknown, but full of potential. She feels different now. Not the same princess who was cast aside, weak and abandoned. She's not the same person who arrived here shattered and uncertain. Aara's voice is soft but steady. I've changed, haven't I, she says, almost to herself. I used to think my strength was all that mattered. But now, I see that, it's not about power. It's about adapting. Growing. Daniel turns to her, his gaze steady but filled with quiet pride. You've learned more than you realize. Strength isn't just about the body. It's about resilience, about learning from every failure, and using it to push forward. Aara smiles faintly, her eyes distant, but there's a glint of something new in them, something stronger. I was always told that I was weak. That I couldn't. There's no bitterness in her words, only acceptance. She has come to terms with the fact that her past, her royal bloodline, her father's expectations no longer define her. The future is something she can shape, something she can own. She looks at Daniel, her expression softening. Thank you for teaching me to see myself differently. Daniel nods, his expression quiet but knowing. This is just the beginning, Aara. What you've learned here is only a fraction of what you're capable of. The real challenge lies ahead. The galaxy might have underestimated you, but you don't need their approval anymore. You've proved it to yourself. Aara stands, her body still aching from the exertion, but her spirit unbroken. The moonlight dances on the water as she turns to face Daniel. I'm ready for whatever comes next. I'm not the weak princess anymore. I'm something more. She steps forward, the cool sand beneath her feet grounding her, the vastness of the ocean and the stars before her symbolizing everything she has yet to learn. But for the first time, she knows she can face whatever challenges await her. Daniel watches her, a quiet smile tugging at the corner of his lips. You're ready, Aara. Let's see how far you can go. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the stars. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more thrilling sci-fi tales. Share your thoughts with us in the comments below, and stay tuned for the next episode in this series. The galaxy is vast, and there's always more to explore. See you in the next chapter.